This year is full of amazing game releases, and there are plenty we haven't seen yet, like the next Assassin's Creed, Call of Duty, Star Wars Battlefront 2, and so on. Nonetheless, what we have seen looks fairly jaw-dropping regardless of your stance on video game graphics. Take a gander at 15 of the most graphically intensive games out in 2017 and tell us what you think is the most gorgeous. Star Citizen Squadron 42 Episode 1. One of the biggest reasons people wonder about Star Citizen, particularly its single-player campaign Squadron 42, is because of how drop-dead gorgeous it looks. Squadron 42 further adds to that with its realistic lighting, stunning facial animation, stellar model work, and painstaking attention to detail, courtesy of the Amazon Lumberyard engine based off of CryEngine, which the game was originally running on. If you could point to any one reason why development seems to be taking so long, then the visuals should provide a clue if the massive scale already hasn't. Horizon Zero Dawn. Guerrilla Games may not always wow us with their gameplay, looking at you Killzone Shadowfall, but it hardly ever goes wrong with its visuals. Case in point is Horizon Zero Dawn, an open-world action RPG where players take on the role of the hunter Aloy in a post-apocalyptic Earth overrun by machines. The art style is incredible, from the minuscule details, unique tribes with their own dressing sense, to the major, numerous animations for each robot, strong draw distance, and photorealistic environment design. And it will look even better on the PS4 Pro with HDR, regardless if you're playing it in 4K or 1080p. Prey. Arcane Studios' Prey isn't fooling around when it comes to visual splendor. The entire experience carries a System Shock-esque vibe with the shapeshifting aliens alternating between nightmarish mass and object replication. That's not including the sheer atmospherics or the detail in the environment design, whether you're peering off into the great beyond of space or following the blood spatters. Prey seemed to set expectations high with its initial reveal trailer, but it's looked as good ever since. Resident Evil 7 Biohazard. In a year with so many great releases already like Gravity Rush 2, Tales of Berseria, and so on, Capcom's Resident Evil 7 Biohazard bowled us over with its visual splendor. It's crazy to see the amount of work that went into crafting the Baker household, be it the texture work in the soggy floorboards or in the expressions of various characters. Everything in Resident Evil 7 takes on an eerie life of its own, extending beyond realism into a more disgustingly gorgeous space, and it looks glorious. For Honor. Say what you will about Ubisoft downgrades, but For Honor still looks pretty damn cool. The key star of the game is the excellent animation inherent in each fighter's attacks. You'll never mistake the Nobushi for the Peacekeeper, and when the battleground is full of smoke, sparks, broken architecture, and other similarly impressive visual effects, it will feel like you're immersed in a true war. It also doesn't hurt that Ubisoft put in a lot of work to faithfully recreate the detailing on the various factions' weapons and armor. Mass Effect Andromeda. Like Horizon Zero Dawn, Mass Effect Andromeda will shine the brightest in 4K, whether on PS4 or PC. However, as of now, we're excited about the model work, ship design, particle effects, draw distance, and overall textures. With Andromeda being an open-world title, issues like texture streaming and facial animations will need to be examined further. Still, with the game a little less than 2 months away, it's crazy to see the amount of work that's gone into the galaxy, especially given its scale and the addition of a completely separate multiplayer mode. Crackdown 3. Regent Games and CloudGene have been banging away on the next Crackdown for a while now. With so many Xbox One exclusives having faced cancellation in recent years, you honestly have to wonder about Crackdown 3's fate. Regardless, the scale of real-time destruction courtesy of Microsoft's Azure technology is still incredible to this day. We're waiting to see how this affects the campaign and story, especially with regards to things that can't be destroyed. In terms of multiplayer, the sky is the limit on how much visual fidelity Crackdown 3 is capable of pulling off. Now, if only it had a release date. Gran Turismo Sport. Despite being delayed and looking a little dull in its initial showing, Gran Turismo Sport has since picked up its game and looked simply gorgeous. Lighting and realistic reproduction of the vehicles, right down to the fabric of car seats, are second only to the environments, with aspects like tree bark quality, individual leaves reacting to the wind, and so much more being showcased. Don't worry though, the cars themselves look incredibly sleek, especially when it comes to reflection and texture quality. NIER Automata. There's something to be said about NIER Automata, a game that features fairly straightforward designs for the smaller enemy robots. That being said, at 1080p and constant 60 FPS, it's hard not to admire the animation quality of 2B, especially during a perfect dodge as she launches enemies into the air. Particle effects look especially great, and the overall speed meshes well with the level of detail on display. It may not be photorealistic, but NIER Automata still looks pretty damn good. Red Dead Redemption 2. Yes, we know there's only been one gameplay teaser for Red Dead Redemption 2, and we haven't seen all that much. Here's the thing, what we have seen looks real nice. This doesn't determine how the animation, frame rate, open world scale, yada yada and whatnot will be. However, if Rockstar's track record is any indication, Red Dead Redemption 2 should push the boundaries of open world gaming much like Grand Theft Auto 5 did. Will it actually be out this year? Is a PC version actually happening? All these questions and more still remain to be answered. The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild. For a long time now, we knew that The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild would be a tour de force. We just didn't know on what kind of scale that would be on. Thanks to Monolith Soft of Xenoblade Chronicles fame helping with the massive world, Breath of the Wild will feature arguably the largest open world structure yet. Realistic textures may not be the name of the game, but this latest adventure offers so much more. Dynamic weather, detailed environments, beautiful aesthetics, distinct animations for Link and his enemies, we could go on and on. The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild will probably be one of the technical marvels of this year, and we can't wait. Uncharted: The Lost Legacy. Uncharted 4: A Thief's End was one of the best looking games of last year and arguably of this generation. It's only a given that Uncharted: The Lost Legacy will be just as impressive, and yes, it will have its own standalone release. From the alpha and particle effects that accurately capture the dingy backwaters of India to the realistic cloth animation and expressions on Chloe and Nadine, Uncharted: The Lost Legacy will provide one more adventure for us to sink our teeth into, even if Nathan Drake isn't coming along for the ride. Battalion 1944. If Battlefield 1 took home the prize for Best Visual Representation of World War I in 2016, historical accuracies notwithstanding, then Battalion 1944 is easily 2017's pick for World War II reenactment. For a crowd-funded title, Battalion 1944 impresses with its photorealism, especially when it comes to the texture for grass, trees, and other environmental features. Even if the high skill curve turns off most players in terms of a realistic depiction of war, Battalion 1944 is worth keeping an eye on. MLB The Show 17. You're probably thinking, a baseball game? Why would a baseball game be one of the best looking games of the year? Well, it's an open secret that Sony San Diego has delivered some of the best hair depiction, character animation, and player textures in the business. MLB The Show 17 looks to take that even further with its realistic environments, improved presentation, and even more detailed animation. You'll appreciate it more as a baseball buff, but MLB The Show 17 is still a gorgeous game all the same. Tekken 7. As the first Tekken title to make use of Unreal Engine 4, Tekken 7 looks pretty good, even in arcades. The console versions are apparently set to look even better when Fated Retribution rolls around. Judging by the most recent gameplay trailer, even if it's not real-time, there's a significant improvement in texture work and character animation over Tekken 6. Will it be enough to beat out Street Fighter V or even the upcoming Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite? June can't come soon enough for us to find out. That'll be it for this video. If you like what we're doing, please go ahead and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.